In this devlog series, I will talk about my rhythm game in Godot engine, like how music, graphics and user input are synchronized, and how I made some neat visual effects to the game. But first, let's see how it all got started. Hi, I'm Haru. In my free time, I like to make games, play disc golf and take care of our little dog Lily. Last year I was suffering from the common game dev disease of constantly starting new projects but never really finishing anything. It was like this until a good buddy of mine wrote this in my Twitch chat. Well, the next day I was already on my way to install the game, and to my surprise... No, for real, Musedash is quite nice and easy rhythm game in which you try to follow the beat and hit enemies as accurately as possible. After a few days of playing, I started to wonder, what is easier, modding or making a Musedash clone? But I guess at this point it's kind of obvious which road I chose. Well, being completely unaware of all the obstacles I was about to face, I cheerfully opened a new Godot project, and as usual right away I dumped carefully all the placeholder graphics and got to work on the visuals. So the first thing I added was this cool cyberpunk style parallax scrolling background, after which I pixeled some basic player animations and some mockups for the enemies. Then it was already time to make the game logic, and I was kinda able to take a shortcut there by using this handy Godot MIDI add-on, but I will talk more about that in a future devlog. So at this point I was smoothly sailing in the honeymoon phase of the project, until I realized one crucial thing. I have no music. But then one day YouTube decided to recommend me this. My immediate thought was, I have to make a chart for this tune. And so I did what I have never ever done before. I contacted the composer to ask for permission to use some of their songs. Sending the email felt almost like approaching a huge company, and I kind of lost my hope soon after pressing the send button. But to my surprise, after 2 days I got a positive reply saying it's all good as long as the game is non-commercial, plus some conditions on the game contents are met. I agreed, as this was a huge motivation boost for me. Now I had everything in place for the first beat chart. Or at least that's what I thought. The first problem I faced was the fancy hit animation I worked on a few days. It simply felt sluggish in the game. And it wasn't just that. In fact, the audio synchronization was somehow off, and so I was getting pretty random hit accuracies. Usually when problems start to pile up, at some point my brain goes like, oh well, seems like the game is too hard to make, and I want to give up. But this time I felt like I'm not allowed to screw up. I mean, I got the permission to use some of my favorite tunes after all. And so I rolled up my sleeves and got to work. At first I ramped up the player animation speed, and suddenly the gameplay felt so much more fluid. Then I spent a long weekend debugging the audio sync issues. Turns out what was missing was a latency calibration step, which reduces the delay between a key hit and the actual hit determination in Godot. I also made some mistakes while importing the music, which I was also able to fix. So after all this, I was finally able to finish the first playable demo, which is now already available on itch.io for Windows and Linux. And I'm quite happy how it turned out. So in the next devlog, I will talk more about synchronization, which in my opinion is one of the most important things in a rhythm game. So I hope to see you again, and thanks for watching.